Once upon a time, in a village called Ahaba, where the hills stretched tall against the sky and the streams were clear and cool, there lived Bisi, a young pretty girl in her late teens. Bisi's father was a vegetable farmer. Her mother sold the vegetables at the market. Her younger brother, Dele, spent his days chasing after goats in the fields. Life was hard, but they managed, until one day when things took a bad turn, as her father fell ill. At first, it was just a fever, but it got worse. His breathing became heavy and his skin burned like fire. They had no money for medicine, and the herbs her mother used did nothing to heal him. Busy watched as his father's strength faded away, and every day her heart grew heavier. One evening, after fetching water from the stream, Bisi sat by the water's edge. The sun was setting, painting the sky in soft pinks and oranges. She placed the heavy water pot beside her and began to cry. Her tears fell into the stream, mixing with the flowing water. She sang a sad song, one her mother used to sing when times were hard. Her voice was soft, but the pain in it was clear. She cried and sang until it got quite dark and the stars appeared in the sky. Eventually, exhaustion took over and she fell asleep under the tree by the stream. When it was completely dark, something cold and smooth brushed against her skin. Startled, Bisi woke up. A dog was sitting beside her, its fur glittering in the moonlight. She screamed and jumped up, running a few steps away, her heart pounding in her chest. But then she realized she had left her water pot by the stream. It was late and her family needed the water, so she forced herself to go back. As she reached for the pot, a soft voice stopped her. "Don't be afraid," the voice said. Bisi froze and looked around, but she saw no one. "Down here," the voice said again. Her eyes dropped on the dog. You talk?" Bisi asked, her voice shaking. "Yes," the dog replied. "My name is Ogun. I heard your crying and wanted to help." Bisi was too shocked to move. She had never heard of a dog that could talk. "Help? How can a dog help me?" she asked, still crouching by the water. "I heard your song and I felt your sadness," Ogun said, his voice calm and soft. "I have been lonely for a long time. I only ask for your company. If you sing for me each time you come to fetch water, I will give you something in return." Bisi stared at the dog, unsure of what to say. "What could you give me?" she finally asked. Ogun sat closer and set a small calabash beside her. "Every time you sing for me, you will find this calabash filled with money when you return home." Bisi felt her chest tighten. Money? They needed money for her father's medicine. But could she really trust a dog? She stood up quickly, shaking her head. "I don't want your money," she said, her voice trembling. She picked up her pot and hurried home. That night, when Bisi reached her house, she found her father's condition had worsened. His breathing was shallow and he could barely open his eyes. Her mother sat by his side, looking more tired than ever. Bisi knew then that they needed money urgently or they would lose him. The next day, with heavy heart, Bisi returned to the stream. After fetching water, she sat under the tree again. She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and began to sing the same sad song. Her voice floated over the water, and soon enough she heard a rustling of leaves. Ogun emerged from the shadow. "You came back," the dog said, almost sounding pleased. "I need the money," Bisi said quietly, her eyes fixed on the ground. "For your father's medicine." Ogun nodded its head slowly. "Then take the calabash," he said. "It will be full by the time you return home." Bisi picked up the calabash and went home. But then she thought of her father lying sick at home, struggling to breathe. She had no choice. Her father needed the money, and without it he would die. Tears filled her eyes as she stood. "I'll do it," she said, when Ogun asked for a favor. Ogun slipped back into the shadows, and when it returned, he gave Bisi a larger calabash. "Tomorrow night," he said, "come back and we'll seal our agreement." The next morning, Bisi prepared herself. She wanted to the stream, her legs trembling, dread sinking in her stomach. She sat under the tree waiting for the darkness to fall. When night came, Ogun appeared, his body lit and sleek. Slowly, he crept towards her, and Bisi clenched her fists, biting her lip to keep them from crying out. He was painful, and tears ran down her cheek as the dog coiled up beside her, his weight pressing heavily against her. The dog was having sex with Bisi. When it was over, Bisi gathered her clothes and ran home, tears streaming down her face. The large calabash was waiting for her, full of money, but this time the price felt much too high. She cried all the way home, feeling ashamed and dirty. She had done something she never imagined she would do, and for what? Money? Her father's life? But the guilt weighed on her, and the tears wouldn't stop. When she got home, her mother was sitting outside peeling yam for dinner. Bisi, are you all right? Her mother asked, her face light with worry. I am fine, Mama, Bisi said, forcing a smile. She didn't want to worry her mother one more than she already was. I just had a long day. She slipped into her room and laid on her mat, coiling into herself. That night, she didn't sleep. She kept thinking about what had happened at the stream, about Ogun, and how she had let it take advantage of her. Her father's health was improving, but at what cost? She felt trapped, like she had sold her soul for a handful of coins. Days turned into weeks, and her father got better. So, the next morning, he decided to follow her. He didn't tell anybody, not even their mother. He just watched as Bisi left the house with her water pot, and then he quietly followed her through the trees, staying out of sight. Bisi did not notice him. She walked to the stream as usual, sat down her pot, and sat under the tree. Dele crouched behind a large rock, peeking out just enough to see what her sister was doing, as he has asked her numerous questions at home how she got her money, but he refused. So Dele, her younger brother, decided to follow her. Bisi started to sing, her voice soft and sigh. It was the same song she already sang when she was upset, the same one their mother used to sing. Dele watched her closely, but nothing seemed unusual. Maybe she was just sad, maybe that was all. But then, as the sun began to set and the sky turned dark, Dele heard Bisi speaking. Please, Bisi said, her voice low, take it easy tonight. I am tired. Dele frowned. Who was she talking to? He peeked around the rock, his eyes widened with curiosity. That was when he saw it. A large dark dog was stepping out from the bushes, moving towards Bisi. Dele's heart pounded in his chest as he watched, frozen in place. Bisi didn't look scared. She sat there, her legs slithered open, slightly open, and the dog settled beside her, its body winding against hers. Dele couldn't believe what he was seeing. Her sister was sleeping with a dog. He couldn't keep quiet any longer. He screamed, a loud piercing scream that echoed through the trees. Bisi jumped up startled. The dog growled and quickly disappeared into the bushes, melting into the shadows. Bisi's heart raced as she looked around. His eyes landed on Dele, who was staring at her with wild, terrified eyes. Dele! Bisi shouted, her voice shaking. What are you doing here? Dele's face was pale. What? What were you doing? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. He was trembling, his eyes still with fear. The next day, Dele insisted they go to speak with an elder in the village. The elder, a wise old man named Neka, had a reputation for knowing the secrets of the land and the spirit. Bisi hesitated at first, terrified of what Ogun might do if he found out, but Dele was determined. We have to try, he said. We can't let him hurt you anymore. With a heavy heart, Bisi agreed. They arrived at Neka's hut, tucked away at the edge of the village. The old man sat outside, her eyes sharp and knowing as they approached. I have been expecting you, child, Neka said, her voice low and gravely. I heard whispers of Ogun's trick. Bisi and Dele exchanged a glance, startled by the elder's word. Busy knelt before Neka, her eyes trembling. Please, Neka, I need your help. I made a deal with Ogun and now I don't know how to break it. Neka nodded slowly, her eyes narrowing. Ogun is clever, and once he had a hold on you, it's not easy to escape. But there is a way, she paused, studying Bisi's face. You must be brave, child. It will not be easy. Bisi swallowed her. I'll do anything. Neka's expression softened slightly. Ogun thrives on fear and desperation. The more you give it to him, the more power he has over you. To break the curse, you must return to the stream one final time. But this time, you will not sink. You will refuse him. Bisi's heart pounded in her chest. What will happen if I do? Ogun will become angry, very angry, Neka said. He may try to harm you, but you must stand your ground. If you can resist him, his power over you will break. But you cannot show fear, even when he threatens you. Dele squeezed Bisi's hand tightly, his face determined. We will do it together. That night, Bisi and Dele returned to the stream. The moon was full, casting long shadows over the waters. Then she sat under the tree and the dog emerged. Then she shouted, No, you can't control me anymore, Ogun growled, baring his teeth, his body ripping with anger. You dare defy me? Bisi's heart raced, but she stood her ground. I do. Ogun lunged at her, his sharp teeth snapping in the air. Bisi stumbled back, fear gripping her, but she remembered Neka's words. She wouldn't show fear. I'm not afraid of you, she said, her voice rising. Ogun growled again, his body coiling as if preparing to strike, but something strange began to happen. The air around the stream grew cold, and the ground beneath Bisi's feet started to tremble. Ogun's eyes flickered with panic as he tried to lash out, but his form began to blur, his body growing weaker. Bitsy stood strong, refusing to flinch. Dele stepped out from his hiding place, standing beside his sister. You are nothing without our fear, Bisi said, her voice strong, with one final shout with boldness. I am not afraid of you. You can't control me anymore. Bisi screamed, and Ogun's body collapsed into the shadows, disappearing in the night. Bisi fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. It was over. The curse was broken. Dele knelt beside her, wrapping his arms around her. Oh, we did it, Bisi. It's over. Together they walked back home, the weight of the past weeks lifting from Bisi's shoulder. She didn't know what the future would hold, but for the first time in a long time, she felt free. And in the quiet of the night, the stream flowed peacefully, as if the spirit of Ogun has never existed. From that day forward, Bisi could no longer go to the stream. Her secret was out, and her family watched her closely. They prayed for her, but the bond with Ogun was not easily broken. Each night, Bisi could feel the dog calling to her, whispering in her dreams, reminding her of the deal they had made. And though her father's health improved, she didn't mind. She was determined never to have anything to do with the dog. I've come to the end of this amazing story. I hope you did enjoy it. Please subscribe to my channel and invite your friends and your family to like my channel. See you in my next video upload. Bye bye.